June 21, 2024, News Report 1. Xinhua News Agency reported that on May 21, China's Supreme Court, Supreme Procuratorate, Ministry of Public Security, Ministry of State Security, and Ministry of Justice jointly issued the Opinions on Punishing Taiwan Independence Stubborn Elements for Splitting the Country and Inciting the Crime of Splitting the Country, which took effect immediately. The opinions provide specific standards and procedural norms for convicting and sentencing so-called Taiwan independence elements. According to the opinions, principal Taiwan independence figures or those with serious offenses shall be sentenced to life imprisonment or more than 10 years of fixed-term imprisonment, and those with particularly heinous circumstances may be sentenced to death. Those actively participating in Taiwan independence activities shall be sentenced to more than 3 years but less than 10 years of fixed-term imprisonment. Acts of separatism include initiating the establishment of Taiwan independence separatist organizations, planning and formulating action plans for Taiwan independence separatist activities, directing and implementing activities to split the country, attempting to change Taiwan's status as part of China through means such as referendums, promoting Taiwan's entry into international organizations limited to sovereign states, or conducting official exchanges and military contacts with foreign countries to create two Chinas, or one China, one Taiwan, namely Taiwan independence. Zhang Qingbin, Deputy Director of the Major Crimes Prosecution Department of the Supreme People's Procuratorate, stated that according to these opinions, absentia trials can be conducted for criminal suspects. The Taiwan Affairs Office formulated a list of so-called Taiwan independence stubborn elements in November 2020, which includes 15 people such as Lai Ching-te, Xiao Mei-chin, Wu Zhaoxie, Gu Lixiong, Su Sengchang, and Yu Shikuan. News Report 2. The Chinese Ministry of Commerce issued an announcement on May 21 to continue levying anti-dumping duties on imported polyethylene from Taiwan, South Korea, and the United States for 5 years. Polyethylene is an important basic chemical raw material and organic solvent, mainly used in the synthesis of fuel intermediates, emulsifiers for pesticides, pharmaceuticals, flotation agents, and other fields. The Ministry of Commerce began to impose anti-dumping duties on imported polyethylene from Taiwan, South Korea, and the United States in 2018, with rates of 3.8% for Taiwanese chemical fiber companies and 4.2% for others. This measure expired this year and is now announced to be extended for 5 years. News Report 3. Kyodo News reported that on June 21, the Japanese government announced sanctions against 7 Chinese and Hong Kong companies for providing Russia with drone chips. This is the first time that Japan has sanctioned Chinese companies that aid Russia. According to a list provided by the Japanese Ministry of Foreign Affairs, PDF, the 7 Chinese and Hong Kong companies subject to sanctions include Asia Pacific Links Ltd., Tordan Industry Ltd., Alpha Trading Investments Ltd. in Hong Kong, Yalufa Technology Company, Limited, Willikeo Technology Innovation Company, Limited, Biguang Trading Company, Limited in Shenzhen, and UCI Technology Company, Limited in Guangzhou. Japan's sanctions, similar to those of the United States and the European Union, mainly include 2 aspects: freezing the assets of these companies in Japan and prohibiting Japanese companies from exporting products and technology to these companies. Chief Cabinet Secretary of Japan Hirofumi Yoshimura stated at a press conference on June 21 that the sanctions are not aimed at specific countries but at individual companies that help Russia circumvent sanctions. He also said that Japan will take joint action with the G7 countries. News Report 4. Reuters reported that the United States and China resumed semi-official, Track 2, nuclear talks in March. This round of negotiations focused on the Taiwan issue. The Chinese representative stated that China will not resort to nuclear threats over the Taiwan issue. China absolutely believes it can win conventional battles without using nuclear weapons, emphasizing that there is no need to use nuclear weapons in resolving the Taiwan issue. Previously, U.S. representatives were concerned that if China failed on the Taiwan issue, it might resort to nuclear weapons. Chinese representatives assured in this round of talks that they would not use nuclear weapons on the Taiwan issue. Nuclear negotiations between China and the United States are divided into two forms. One is formal intergovernmental negotiations, called Track 1, the other is unofficial and semi-official talks, called Track 2. Participants in Track 2 talks are usually former officials or scholars who do not directly formulate policies but can make authoritative statements on their country's position. Sino-US Track 2 talks have been ongoing for 20 years, but China has always insisted on not negotiating on nuclear weapons with the United States. In 2019, the Trump administration stopped funding for Sino-US Track 2 nuclear talks, leading to a stalemate in the talks. The meeting was held at a hotel in Shanghai and lasted for 2 days. The United States sent 6 representatives, including former officials and scholars. China's representatives included former PLA officers and scholars. Although the U.S. State Department was aware of the meeting, it did not participate. Such discussions cannot replace formal negotiations. Last November, China and the United States briefly resumed Track 1 nuclear talks but then stopped again. The U.S. Department of Defense estimated last year that China has about 500 operable nuclear warheads, which could exceed 1,000 by 2030. Nuclear weapons are China's only significant deterrent, but due to the large gap between the two sides, the Chinese government refuses to negotiate with the United States on nuclear weapons issues. News Report 5. Bloomberg reported that the Canadian government is preparing to impose tariffs on Chinese electric vehicles, in line with actions taken by the United States and the European Union. Canada currently imposes a 6% tariff on imported cars and allows consumers to enjoy a tax rebate plan when buying foreign electric vehicles. In recent years, the number of Chinese electric vehicles imported into Canada has increased significantly, especially Tesla vehicles produced in Shanghai. Last year, Canada imported 44,400 cars from China, more than 5 times the previous year. This situation has caused strong protests from the Canadian automotive industry, which hopes that the Canadian government will follow the United States and take more measures to protect the domestic automotive industry. In May of this year, the Biden administration announced a 100% tariff on Chinese electric vehicles, and the European Union imposed a maximum 38% tariff on Chinese electric vehicles last week. The Canadian government is more concerned about the cheap cars produced by Chinese car factories. Ontario Premier Doug Ford tweeted on June 20 that China uses cheap labor and polluting energy to manufacture cheap electric vehicles. If the Canadian government does not take action quickly, it will sacrifice Canadian job opportunities. News Report 6. The Hong Kong Official Receiver's Office announced on June 21 that the number of bankruptcy applications in Hong Kong reached 871 in May, an increase of 35% year-on-year. So far this year, the total number of bankruptcy applications in Hong Kong has reached 3,797, an increase of 25% year-on-year. Kelvin Chuang, Associate Professor of the Department of Economics at the Chinese University of Hong Kong, said that the increase in the number of bankruptcies is not due to problems in the labor market, but because banks are pressing for loan repayment, and borrowers are unable to repay, so they have to apply for bankruptcy. Chuang pointed out that the current situation in Hong Kong is very similar to that in 1997 when property prices plummeted. The decline in property prices led to the need for borrowers to repay part of the loan in advance. For example, if the price of a house drops from 1 million Hong Kong dollars to 700,000 Hong Kong dollars, the bank requires the borrower to repay 200,000 Hong Kong dollars in order to maintain a 70% loan-to-value ratio. This is why when property prices fall, banks require mortgage customers to repay in advance. Chuang explained that the current problem is not that borrowers are unemployed and unable to afford the house, but that the decline in property prices has led banks to require early repayment. Since property prices in Hong Kong are usually in the millions of Hong Kong dollars, the amount required for repayment is relatively large, and borrowers cannot come up with so much money at once, so they can only apply for bankruptcy. In 1998 and 1999, a total of 3,960 people went bankrupt in Hong Kong. Hong Kong has a personal bankruptcy system, while China currently only conducts pilot personal bankruptcies in Shenzhen. The Chinese government will not allow personal bankruptcy to evade debts because commercial banks are state-owned and will not allow personal bankruptcy. News Report 7. Voice of America reported that former U.S. President Donald Trump, in a podcast program he participated in on June 19, said that foreign students graduating from American universities should be allowed to obtain green cards. This proposal has surprised many as it contradicts his usual anti-immigrant rhetoric. During his presidency, Trump ordered the construction of a border wall between the U.S. and Mexico and imposed a travel ban on people from Muslim countries. Therefore, Trump inherited the traditional Republican anti-immigrant stance and believed that illegal immigrants would endanger U.S. public safety and take away American jobs. He also promised that if re-elected, he would carry out the largest deportation operation in U.S. history, expelling a large number of illegal immigrants. Immigration has always been a key issue in the competition between Trump and current President Biden. Trump often accuses Biden of being too lenient on immigration issues. However, Trump's sudden proposal to grant green cards to foreign students graduating from American universities has been difficult for many to accept. Trump said in the program that foreign students should automatically receive green cards upon graduation, regardless of whether they completed a 2-year or 4-year program. He emphasized that the U.S. needs a group of smart and talented people to work for companies and promised to address this issue on his first day in office if elected. The New York Times believes that Trump's move is to show goodwill to the business community and attract donations and supporters. However, Trump's remarks have attracted high attention from the American media and society. Shortly after the program aired, Trump's campaign team quickly clarified that this policy only applies to top graduates who can make significant contributions to the U.S., and these graduates will undergo strict scrutiny and screening before obtaining green cards. This makes Trump's policy appear more complex and unrealistic. News Report 8. The Ministry of Housing and Urban-Rural Development held a working meeting on June 20, clearly stating that various regions in China should carry out the acquisition of completed commercial housing as affordable housing in an orderly, powerful, and effective manner. This policy, known as acquisition and storage, aims to promote the destocking of commercial housing, increase the supply of affordable housing, and cooperate with the Ensure the Delivery of Housing campaign and the White List mechanism to prevent and resolve real estate risks. Although this policy has been highly anticipated since its implementation at the beginning of the year, with people hoping it would bring new purchasing power to the real estate market, its effect has not been significant. The reasons are as follows. 1. Complex transactions. The process of acquiring commercial housing as affordable housing is very complex. Officials executing such acquisitions may face corruption charges due to improper procedures, even if they did not profit from them. This cautious approach by officials has prolonged the transaction time and difficulty. 2. Insufficient local government funding. Local governments lack matching funds. Although the People's Bank of China provided 300 billion yuan in loans, it required local governments to match corresponding funds, with local governments needing to match 2 yuan for every 1 yuan loaned. However, local governments themselves face severe financial pressures and cannot raise enough funds to match these loans. In fact, in 2023, the People's Bank of China provided 100 billion yuan in loans for the acquisition of housing as affordable housing, but local governments only used over 20 billion yuan of it. Although the People's Bank of China set up another 300 billion yuan in loans in May this year, the effect is still not ideal due to the insufficient funding of local governments. To address this situation, the Ministry of Housing and Urban-Rural Development convened this working meeting to once again promote the implementation of this policy, hoping to further encourage local governments and relevant departments to take active actions, solve the problem of destocking in the real estate market, and increase the supply of affordable housing. Despite facing various challenges, this policy is still highly anticipated, hoping to achieve better results in the future. News Report 9. Xinhua News Agency reported on June 21 that Chinese President Xi Jinping conducted an inspection in Ningxia from June 19 to 20. On the afternoon of the 19th, Xi Jinping went to the Changqing Garden community in Yinchuan City for inspection. On the morning of the 20th, Xi Jinping listened to the work report of the Ningxia Autonomous Region Party Committee and government, and stated that Ningxia should make every effort to build the Yellow River Basin Ecological Protection Zone and achieve high-quality development. During the inspection, Li Ganjie, Secretary of the Ningxia Autonomous Region Party Committee, and Chairman of the Autonomous Region People's Government, accompanied the inspection. According to the report, Xinhua News Agency released photos of Xi Jinping at the Changqing Garden community at 11:30 a.m. and 11:30 p.m. on the 21st, but did not provide any other content. In theory, Xi Jinping should have had other schedules during the inspection, but as of now, there have been no other reports regarding his schedule arrangements. News Report 10. On June 21, the Taiwan Legislative Yuan rejected the reconsideration of the Executive Yuan's proposal for parliamentary reform legislation with 62 votes against and 51 votes in favor. During the voting, Legislative Yuan Speaker Han Kuo-yu and Vice Speaker Jiang Qiuqun alternated as chairman, and they alternated in this role after the vote. The Democratic Progressive Party criticized the Kuomintang, KMT, for fearing that legislators would defect and accused the KMT of not daring to face public opinion, calling such behavior absurd. KMT Legislative Yuan Caucus convener Ku Jiming emphasized that they would submit a reconsideration to the Judicial Yuan in the shortest time possible, believing that the Grand Justices would make the correct judgment. Taiwanese civil groups called for a return to the Legislative Yuan with the Bluebird Action on June 21, with 30,000 people protesting at the Legislative Yuan that evening. Chao Xincheng, founder of Liandian, stated at the protest site that the Communist Party of China's hands should not be allowed to reach into the Legislative Yuan, overriding Taiwan's judicial and executive branches. The Bluebird Action will continue until next year, calling for the recall of legislators arranged by the Communist Party and opposing the KMT's 7 major democratic retrogression bills. The KMT plans to reintroduce the 7 major democratic retrogression bills, including returning the party's assets to the KMT, putting red media back on the shelves, establishing a parliamentary characteristics group, extending the service life of nuclear power plants, and raising the threshold for recalling legislators. Civil groups announced that they would continue to supervise the Legislative Yuan to ensure that the KMT's 7 major democratic retrogression bills do not progress. News Report 11. According to Yonhap News Agency, the South Korean Joint Chiefs of Staff reported that on June 3 at 11 a.m., several North Korean soldiers crossed the military demarcation line in the central part of the demilitarized zone. The South Korean military issued warnings and fired warning shots, and the North Korean soldiers then retreated northward. The South Korean Joint Chiefs of Staff stated that at the time, there were several hundred North Korean soldiers operating within a few kilometers. Although several North Korean soldiers did not move away after retreating to the military demarcation line, they continued to operate near the military demarcation line. This is the 3rd time this month that North Korean soldiers have crossed the military demarcation line. Recently, North Korean soldiers have buried landmines and reinforced tactical roads in over 10 locations in the demilitarized zone. The South Korean Joint Chiefs of Staff analyzed that these 3 incidents were simply border violations, as the dense vegetation in the demilitarized zone makes it difficult to clearly identify the boundary markers, leading to border violations by the North Korean military during their operations. The South Korean military expects such incidents to occur frequently in the future and stated that they will resolutely respond in accordance with principles. News Report 12. According to CCTV's report, a collapse occurred at the construction site of Metro Line 13 in Chengdu, Sichuan Province, in the early morning of June 21, causing a 12-meter deep road surface collapse. The collapse occurred on Jinli West Road in Qingyang District, Chengdu. Videos on Twitter show that the collapse site is flanked by high-rise residential buildings, with only 1 meter away from the buildings, making the situation very critical. Some Chengdu residents said that the collapsed road surface was as thin as paper. Local residents said that at 4 a.m., the property management notified residents to evacuate, and some residents had already moved into hotels. Chengdu Metro stated that China Railway Second Bureau damaged 2 water pipes during subway construction, leading to the rupture of the water pipes. The government has sent personnel to close nearby water pipes. It is said that the erosion during construction caused the formation of voids in the soil below, leading to the collapse of the road surface. The affected road has been closed. The report mentioned that China Railway construction showed rough behavior during construction. News Report 13. According to the forecast from the China Meteorological Administration, China will experience a new round of heavy rain from June 21 to 24, with the strongest rainfall expected from the evening of June 21 to the 23rd. The areas affected by the rain include Guizhou to the Jianghan, Jianghuai region. It is expected that the rainfall from June 23 to 24 will concentrate in the northern part of Guizhou to the south of the Yangtze River. The China Meteorological Administration pointed out that this kind of wording is vague, making the forecast more conservative and safe, as it is difficult to accurately predict the specific locations and extent of the rainfall. The report also mentioned that on June 20, Zhejiang, Anhui, and other places had experienced heavy rainfall, with Huangshan City in Anhui Province expected to receive 250 to 319 millimeters of torrential rain. After the heavy rain, Huangshan City experienced a rapid rise in river water levels, severe indoor waterlogging, houses being washed away, vehicles being swept away, etc. Huangshan Scenic Area has been closed. The report also mentioned that the heavy rain in Pingyuan County, Meizhou City, Guangdong Province, since June 16, has resulted in 38 deaths and 2 people missing. The report also quoted the voices of the people, pointing out deficiencies in some areas in responding to natural disasters, such as not providing sufficient shelter when evacuating people.